welcome to this news update from Union Solidarity International. My name is Walter Bantland, and with me is Andrew Brady.
Hi.
And we're coming to you live from Glasgow, Scotland. And today we are going to be talking about privatisation, particularly in the UK, about Chinese workers and their fight back and attempts to raise terms and conditions. And we also have an update from the Ruins documentary that we supported last year. Now, privatisation, you really just have got to love the private sector for its efficiency, don't
I don't think there was anything left to privatise.
So there is nothing in the world more efficient than shoveling profits to shareholders and undermining public services than privatisation. And of course, when it all goes horribly wrong, who's there to bail it out? The taxpayer. And there is this myth that we hear from this government, and we hear it in the business press and the mainstream media quite a lot, that everything done by the private sector is automatically really, really efficient, and everything done by the public sector is it's a slow disaster, and it's all terrible and it's all chaos. The reality, of course, is pretty much the exact opposite. And even if you don't have an ideological commitment to a public sector the way we do, even if you're just interested in evidence-based economics,
empirical evidence,
privatization is pretty much a disaster, because there's simply no way that putting the needs of corporations first is going to provide a better service. And we could go on and on about some of the really bad privatization examples, and we're not going to spend too much time on it, but let's just look very, very briefly at some of the things that have happened in the UK just over the past few years. We had G4S, which was supposed to provide security for the London Olympics, completely failed at that, had to be bailed out by the army, which had to provide that instead. We've had Royal Mail sold off, and that cost taxpayers £750 million in a day because it was undervalued.
Absolutely. And just recently, Vince Cable, the saviour of the universe, as he likes to describe himself as, predicting the economic storm that was coming. Well, he didn't predict the economic storm that was coming with respect to Royal Mail being significantly undervalued.
And of course, we know there are some people close to government ministers who have profited quite a lot from Royal Mail. I believe George Osborne's best man did quite well over that particular sale.
Well, share alike with your friends.
And of course, there's also Atos, Capita, Serco, and it all just goes on and on and on. This privatization, lots of money for shareholders, really, really bad public services. But let's just look at one example, rail privatization, because it's now 20 years since rail was privatized in the UK, and this was supposed to remove the dead hand of state bureaucracy from the rail services and allow the dynamism of the private sector to surge ahead. But the only surge we've seen is in rail fares, which have gone up 245% in that period, making rail in the UK the most expensive in Europe. Now, the really, really strange thing about this is that the British government is totally opposed, it seems, to state ownership of the rail, unless it's another state, a foreign state. This is what is a little bit strange about the whole thing, because the German, French, and Dutch governments own part of the privatized British rail network, but the British government seems to feel that this is inappropriate. Just another example of privatization failure, the East Coast Main Line, which is the train line that goes from London to York and Edinburgh, was privatized along with the rest of them, and in two cases, the companies they were privatized to failed to deliver. GNER and National Express both failed. It was taken back into the public sector and rescued, and that service is now running effectively and profitably, and has generated £800 million in profit for the British taxpayer. Wonderful success story, right? Guess what? The government is trying to privatize it again to give corporations another chance to make an absolute killing destroying a service.
Absolutely.